Alrighty, guys. Good afternoon to you all here. It is about 1 o'clock Central Time here with a weather forecast for you guys, talking about the tropics here, severe weather, flash flooding, as well as just a global pattern update on what's going to be happening over the next couple of days. We are expecting what is now Invest 97L designated this morning, later on this morning here, to become our first hurricane of the year later on this week and potentially head its way toward the United States. Although a lot of the ensemble guidance and new guidance coming in is suggesting more of a fish storm turn or a recurve with a major hurricane going out to sea. So we're going to hope that scenario stays the same here. Still got a lot of time to watch this. A lot of things can change, as I've been mentioning in future and past videos here. Please, if you are on the East Coast from Florida up to the Northeast, get prepared now just in case something changes. We've seen storms defy what the recurve is with our boundaries that'll be in place before, so something we're going to watch very closely. I don't think right now this is going to be too much of an issue, but it could be an issue in the future if we see some different things change. But if you're looking at this thing on satellite this morning, it is very, very impressive. Very, very tight low pressure center here just off the coast of Africa. This could be a tropical storm really in the next 2 or 3 days here, and depending on if the track west happens or if it starts to shift northwest, it plays a huge role in all of what happens through the end of the week and going into next weekend. So right now, if there were to be United States impacts, it would be closer to the 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd of August. That would be over a week out. Right now, that's not anticipated. If you guys are on the East Coast, as I mentioned, you need to start getting those plans ready to go just in case something were to happen. Always be prepared. But we're not going to do any of that fear-mongering crap or any of this posting model runs 300 hours out stuff so that people get scared and are fear mongering, and I'm not going to do that stuff. So we're going to talk about this, break down that. We've got severe weather today across the Midwest, the plains, another overnight risk tonight as well. Major flooding threat as well for portions of Iowa, Wisconsin, getting it down into the Kansas City, Missouri. So we're going to break all that down here. I want to talk tropics first with you guys here. Once again, this is Invest 97L this morning here. You can take a broader view at it here, and you can see very, very tight circulation here with that low coming off the coast here. Not a lot of convection on the north side. It is convection side loaded on the south side, which could yank this a little bit further to the west here. It is on track to move up here towards the Cape Verde Islands here, and if that north track does stay consistent here, we could see more of a fish storm recurve. So depending on what happens with the Canada high that comes off of Canada at the end of the week and what happens with our Bermuda high will play a huge role on if this storm recurves or if it goes toward the United States. Some models have it hitting us, most of them and the ensembles don't have it hitting us, and it recurves out and goes out to sea, but there still will be some impacts of wave height and all that. Bermuda would more than likely see the higher impacts of this. So right now, not anything too concerning, but we are going to be watching this over the next couple days. We are going to have a live stream later on this afternoon because we will be getting our first glance at our hurricane models in, something we'll be watching very closely, and we're just going to be doing lots of updates over the week talking about this, getting you guys prepared for this just in case something were to happen. One more thing I will show you guys here, taking a look at Invest 97L, we can see where that low is designated out there just off the coast of Africa. Another thing that I'm looking at here, this is the first run of the GEFS shipping models here, and you can see a lot of them do take this mostly out to sea here as of right now. That can change depending on where this tracks here. If this is a little bit further to the south, it can alter the ensembles. If it's further to the north, we would more than likely see a recurve, which would be awesome to see. So we'll be keeping you guys updated on that there. And you can also see the the intensity guidance right now. There's only a couple model runs out there until we get our main model runs tonight. You can see most of these taking this up towards hurricane status in a couple of days, also potentially competing with the major hurricane status as well going toward the end of the week. So more than likely, we will have our first hurricane, if not our first major hurricane of the season, heading its way toward the central Atlantic Ocean. Whether or not that comes in the United States or not will be determined at the end of the week. Hopefully towards the end of the week here, we can get some answers to you guys. I know a lot of people want answers. There's a lot of information going out there. We'll keep you guys updated with the latest. And with the 2 o'clock advisory this afternoon, we can see our little area that we've been watching the last couple of days will be moving out here. Not expecting really any development with that. So we're going to focus on the orange blob here that is out right now. And we are now looking at 1050 odds. So there's a 10% chance this becomes a tropical system in the next 48 hours, a 50% chance. And I do expect this to get upgraded to a 60 or higher percent chance in the next couple of outlooks here as we do see this continue to uptrend. And you can see the general area of where this is going to go. It could go as far wide as the north central Atlantic here, or the central Atlantic, or it could go as far south as the Leeward Islands here. And a lot of the model tracks do keep this pretty consistent here. It's just what happens up here at the end of the week. Do we get a recurve? Does this come toward the United States? Does this go towards the Bahamas? A lot of answers to still be figured out over the next couple of days. And like I said, as we get that data in, we're going to keep you guys updated. We're going to keep you guys in the know. But I will show you guys the ensembles because this is very, very important. Latest GFS ensembles from this morning. The afternoon ones are running now, so we'll have an update on stream this afternoon. Do keep majority of this out here towards the central Atlantic and then eventually becoming a major hurricane by the end of the week. Where does this go afterwards? Well, here is some positivity. We could say this as of right now. A lot of the models do have this recurving back out off the East Coast. Now, there will be storm surge impacts more than likely off the East Coast, even with this making a close to approach call. If it were to recurve with a strong hurricane, you're going to have storm surge far away from the actual hurricane itself. There would be some wind impacts potentially as well off the East Coast, but a lot of the models do still agree there could be something headed towards, the East Coast here. So that's something we're going to watch, but your main model guidance keeps this away from us, which would be great to see. We'll keep the update on that. That's the GFS ensembles, and then you have the European ensembles that are a little bit later with a recurve. The later this decides the recurve, the worse it would be for us because of the fact that it would be closer to the East Coast or making landfall. So the European ensembles will update later on this afternoon. We'll have a better idea of what this will do, but I do think a change, maybe a shift north would be great to see with this here, given some of the dermatistic model runs as well as the ensembles we've seen over the last couple of hours. So we'll keep you guys updated with that. Like I said, no time to panic, no time to cause fear-mongering or time for alarm or any of that. We'll keep you guys updated with the latest on the tropics as always here. Now, I do want to go ahead and talk about severe weather for today. We do have a slight risk for severe weather, a pretty big slight risk for severe weather that basically extends from UP Michigan all the way down here into Colorado here. And we do have level 2 slight risk in the yellow, marginal risk there in the green. 2% tornado risk zones out from southwestern Wisconsin, northwestern Illinois, Iowa, Des Moines, northern Missouri, getting into northeast Kansas, eastern portions of Nebraska, and into eastern Colorado. We do have an elevated or an isolated to maybe elevated shot at seeing a couple of weak tornadoes today in both regions there. That'll start later on this afternoon around 3-4 o'clock Central Time. We'll have a live stream going by then as well to cover any severe weather that's happening, as well as talking about the tropics. We also have a wind threat today, winds up to 70 miles per hour for all regions possible, and then we do have a hatched hail threat here for hail up to 2+ inches in diameter for eastern Colorado and western Nebraska. Everybody else will have hail up to 1 to 2 inches in diameter. So I'm not expecting anything too crazy today. The biggest thing today is going to be the flooding threat. We'll talk about that here again in just a second. We also have a marginal risk for tomorrow here. We can see a marginal risk that goes from basically eastern Colorado back up through New Mexico into Kansas, Missouri, and into western Illinois for wind and for hail, with a small 2% tornado risk here for eastern Colorado with a wind threat and a hail threat outside of that. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. And then as we go towards next week, we're going to be in a pattern where there's not going to be a lot of severe weather. So we're going to see a high pressure system up here in Canada that's going to basically tell us where our hurricane's going to go. It depends on where this high pressure up here tracks. If it tracks further to the southeast, could see a more inland hurricane. If it doesn't and it moves off to the north and it's a little bit weaker, it could pull the storm out to sea, which is what we're hoping for at this point. But a 50-50 shot really that happening right now. We'll keep you guys updated. The GFS is a little bit of an outlier right now with that scenario, but the European and the Icon and some of our other models, the CMC, do show a high pressure, a little bit stronger, and that could push this thing a little bit further closer to the coast. So that's why we're watching it very closely for you guys here. But no severe weather expected both on Sunday through next week as of right now. We'll keep you guys updated on that. We'll have a pretty favorable pattern for what will be high pressure ridging up in the north and down in the south. Now, here's an overrun of what's going to happen today. I'll show those rain totals here in just a minute. We're going to see that complex of storms that moved through last night. We did have some 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts back into Nebraska and Iowa this morning as that complex moved through. A couple tornado warnings this morning as well with that. We should see most of that clearing out by later on this afternoon, and then we're going to see another round of storms initiate in southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois through the evening and overnight hours. We can see our system getting itself together here later on tonight, and we're going to have a pretty significant rainfall threat across this region once again later on tonight, where we could see 1 to 3 inches of rainfall widespread-wise, with a couple areas seeing 3 to 6, maybe some 6 to 8 inch totals of rainfall over the next 24 to 48 hours here. WPC does have a moderate risk zone outlined for flash flooding both in southern Wisconsin, northwestern Illinois, southern portions of Iowa, northern western Missouri, and eastern Kansas for the next 2 days as well for flooding. So we'll have to watch that very closely as well. Taking a look as well at those rainfall totals here over the next couple of hours. Let me get those QPFs pulled up here for you guys. And you can see a pretty decent amount of rainfall falling in southern Wisconsin, 3 to 5 inches up here, 1 to 3 locally, or 1 to 3 widespread wise with 3 to 5 locally. And then the same would apply back down here as well into southern Iowa. Now that's just through tonight, so we'll do more of an update on tomorrow's rainfall threat when we get on stream later this afternoon. Taking a look as well at the rainfall totals back over here into the central United States. We'll get to timing on those storms in a minute as well. A good 1 to 3 inches of rainfall south Nebraska, northwestern Kansas, eastern Colorado for you guys over there. And here is the future radar for later on this afternoon, where we could see those storms firing off at a couple elevated hail and wind storms here with a brief isolated tornado threat after 5 to 6 p.m. Central Time this afternoon, and then eventually this will grow upscale, and we're just going to have a lot of heavy rain falling through much of the evening across this area here into the central plains, where we could see a brief weak tornado or two with the hail threat and the tornado threat being there, as well as the wind threat as well at 60 to 70 miles per hour. So we'll keep you guys updated on that there. Like I said, we'll be live covering this afternoon and this evening, as well as with the tropics update we're going to always keep you guys in the know what's going on with that. Now, let's talk about the tropics here. Like I mentioned here, I want to talk just one more update here on our global pattern. This is the latest European model that's coming in. You can see the European model really liking the idea of a recurve here, potentially with our system. We're going to, keep you guys updated with this clearly because the dermatistic model runs still are kind of trying to figure out where this is going to go, as well as the ensembles. So European model keeping a recurve out here with this. And then we've got the GFS model that's also, keeping a recurve, but it does keep it a little bit closer to the United States here. And like I said, this is over 7 days out at this point, so we're really in the unknown. I'm just kind of showing this to show you guys the uncertainty on what's ahead of the system here. Remember, depending on what happens over the next 4 to 5 days plays a huge role in where this goes and what happens as well. We're going to also be watching this huge high pressure ridge. If this high were to shift further south, it would push this thing further to the west. If it lifts further to the northeast, it'll curve this thing out. So 2 different scenarios that we're watching for here on a west or a northeasterly track, and we'll keep you guys updated with that as always. Like I said, more of a breakdown later on in the live stream tonight. Let's talk about our global pattern here across the United States, because we got some changes coming this week, and we do have that upper level low still associated up here into the upper plains, up here into portions of southern Canada. That system will be moving out today and tomorrow, still with a chance of low and severe weather both today and tomorrow. We'll see a new pattern set up going into the week here. Some zonal flow comes back across the central Midwest here, up into the high plains, up into the Great Lakes as well, where we could see some isolated severe thunderstorms through Monday and Tuesday here, but a high pressure dominating back over here into the West Pacific, high pressure dominating back over here into the southeast coast. Going to keep things pretty dry, pretty quiet through much of next week. I don't expect a lot of severe weather. We may see an uptick in severe weather going towards Wednesday and Thursday. Once again, some damaging wind threats, possibly some tornado and hail threats ahead of us here going into Thursday and Friday of next week. But really, Monday and Tuesday will mostly be pretty chill, and then we see a more organized setup potentially up into North Dakota and Minnesota again as we enter toward the end of next week. And then after that, things get a little bit more uncertain. You can see the tropics getting going over here, potentially a tropical storm or hurricane heading its way toward the United States. We're really going to use that very lightly because we don't know what's going to happen. And then we see more of a ridge setting up going into the 2nd and 3rd week of August here, where we could see a pretty quiet pattern other than the tropics getting going here. We don't want to see this, but a ridge setting up in the West Pacific there and into the plains, allowing for more of a heat dome to lock in for much of the month of August. So we're going to watch that pattern and see if that trends. I do think severe weather will diminish for a good couple of days as we get towards next week and then return, and then we may see severe weather diminish again as we get toward the 3rd week of August. So I'll keep you guys updated with everything. Like I said, just a lot of information coming in. There'll be lots of video posts. We'll have live stream later on this evening. If you're on the East Coast, once again, get prepared now just to be safe on the safe side of things. It is August. We still have September and October to go tropic wise. So even if this storm doesn't head our way and it recurves, which would be amazing, we still have a next 2.5 months to go. And there are tropical disturbances behind this wave that are coming off the coast as well that we're going to have to watch. So we'll keep you guys updated with all the latest. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Stay safe, be weather aware, and we'll see you guys in the next one.